Think about the last time you received a piece of feedback or an urgent message that instantly made your blood boil. Your heart rate spikes, your muscles tense up, and your fingers fly to the keyboard to fire back a sharp, defensive reply. But what if the single difference between a top-performing professional and an exhausted, stressed-out one comes down to what they do in the next 10 seconds?
It absolutely does. When we analyze performance patterns in the modern workplace, success rarely comes down to fixed traits like personality or intelligence. Instead, it comes down to real-time execution. The most critical behavioral habit of high performers is their deliberate choice to slow down their speed of response the exact second an emotional flashpoint hits them at work.
It sounds beautifully simple when we talk about it now, but in the heat of the moment, slowing down feels almost impossible. The urge to react immediately, to defend your hard work or correct someone right that second, is incredibly overwhelming. Why do we default to that panic mode?
Because our biology actually treats workplace threats, like a critical comment from a manager or an unexpected tight deadline, the exact same way it treats physical danger. Your ancient survival instinct kicks in, flooding your system with adrenaline and demanding that you either fight back or run away.
And since we can't physically fight our colleagues, fighting back usually looks like sending a passive-aggressive message or making a snappy, sarcastic comment in a team meeting.
Exactly. And what happens next? You send that quick, emotionally charged message, the other person gets defensive, and suddenly a minor tactical issue escalates into a massive team conflict that drags on for weeks. You didn't actually solve the business problem, you just reacted to a temporary chemical spike in your body, exhausting your mental energy for the rest of the day.
So, how do high-performing professionals break this cycle? Do they just have thicker skin, or do they simply not feel the anger and panic that the rest of us do?
This is the biggest misconception in modern workplace psychology. Top performers feel the exact same surge of annoyance or anxiety that anyone else does. The difference isn't what they feel, it's how they interpret that feeling. They don't see an emotion as an absolute command to act. They see it as a data point.
A data point? Meaning the emotion is just a piece of incoming information, not an instruction manual?
Exactly. It's the shift from being reactive to responsive. A reactive professional lets the adrenaline dictate the message. A responsive professional acknowledges the notification, steps back, and chooses the highest leverage move. That's what separates tactical firefighting from true executive presence.
That completely changes how you look at a stressful workday. If the emotion is just a notification, it means I have the power to let it sit there without obeying it right away.
Exactly. You create a pocket of air between the stressful event and your reaction. When you practice this, you aren't trying to suppress your anger or force yourself to be toxically positive. You are simply choosing to change your velocity.
Because speed is usually the absolute enemy of good decision-making and mental energy when pressure is running high.
Always. When we look at behavioral data, professionals who consistently master this intentional pause experience a massive drop in workplace misunderstandings. By choosing to slow down, they bypass the emotional trap entirely, saving themselves hours of awkward cleanup conversations and preventing severe daily cognitive fatigue.
Let's look at how this specific behavior fits into a broader, predictable blueprint of professional self-management.
As we see on the slide, the reinforcement strategy here is entirely about changing how you view the stress. You train your brain to realize that the burning sensation in your chest or the sudden urge to type a furious response isn't a signal to move faster, it's actually your cue to take your hands completely off the keyboard.
Protecting 30% of your daily cognitive capacity just by delaying a response, that's an ROI you can't ignore.
It really is. Every time you react instantly, your brain burns massive amounts of glucose, trying to manage the anxiety and subsequent fallout. Choosing to pause isn't just polite, it's energy economics.
Let's translate this into a real, everyday workday scenario. Imagine you're in a project meeting. You present a strategy you worked on for weeks, and a colleague immediately says, "I don't think this approach will work at all." What does this look like in action right there?
A default reactive choice is to instantly interrupt them, defensively explain why they're wrong, or shut down entirely, cross your arms, and roll your eyes. But if you practice an intentional response velocity, the moment they say those words, you physically take a slow breath. You close your mouth. You wait exactly 3 to 5 seconds before unmuting or responding. In those few seconds, you acknowledge the defensive surge as just a notification, and you choose to ask a calm, clarifying question instead of launching a counterattack.
It completely shifts the power dynamic in the room. You look completely composed and in control, while the other person is forced to logically explain their stance.
Exactly. You become the steady anchor in the room instead of a sail being tossed around by someone else's wind. And this is a concrete skill that anyone or any team can practice starting today. Let's run a practical, real-world experiment this week.
What is our micro action for this week?
The 10-second communication buffer. For the next 48 hours, whenever an email, a comment, or a Slack message triggers an emotional response, you are allowed to draft your reply, but you cannot hit send for 10 full seconds. Sit back from your desk, drop your shoulders, let the internal alarm bell quiet down, and then reread what you wrote before sending it.
I love that, because it's an incredibly tangible rule we can all test immediately without needing a massive lifestyle overhaul.
It's eye-opening how much your perspective changes in just 10 seconds. And this choice is just one piece of a much larger puzzle when it comes to mapping out how you and your organization operate under pressure.
If our viewers want to see where they stand across all of their workplace behavior patterns, from how they manage boundaries to how they protect their collective energy, what should they do next?
They need to look back at their history from the past week and ask themselves this single question. When I look at my text chains, emails, and comments, how many of my messages were written purely to solve the actual business problem, and how many were written just to vent my immediate frustration? Start observing that choice, because this 10-second pause is just one of 16 hidden behavioral flashpoints that dictate your workday. Stop guessing why you're exhausted. Let's look at the data. And that's what CORE is about. Not personality, not labels, not strengths, but the behaviors we repeatedly choose at work.
In the next episode, we'll explore another workplace behavior pattern, because how we work is often hidden inside the choices we repeat.